Germany is changing so much. What? Wow, that's crazy. Poland's getting ready for that next war. That is so cool. Poland's up next. It's official. What is up? Welcome back. Today we're reacting to a video titled Why Poland Will Win the 2030s. Poland's on the climb and everybody knows it. I think that's what this video is about, but we'll see. What's up? If you haven't met me yet, my name is Aaron and this is Aaron Arnold Reacts. Through this channel, I'm discovering Europe, Poland, and other countries around Europe. I'm discovering the history, the sports, the culture, the people, anything you can imagine. If you're new here for the very first time, the goal of this channel is to laugh together, to learn together, and to have fun together. I post videos every single day, so you will always have something to watch. So make sure to hit like and subscribe. Now let's see why Poland will win the 2030s. Let's go.
In 1990, Poland was one of Europe's poorest countries, but today it stands poised to become a European powerhouse.
Okay.
In the last 3 decades, the lives of everyday Polish people have been transformed as the GDP per capita has soared from $1,700 to over $22,000 today.
Wow. Hold on a second. That's already a 10 times increase. Okay, that's pretty ridiculous, but that's amazing.
That's an economic miracle. But how did a country once struggling under communism become Europe's fastest growing economy?
Wow.
The answer sets Poland up for unprecedented success in the 2030s. And Poland's rise comes at an interesting time for Europe because its historic rivals are growing weaker. Germany,
True.
along Europe's economic engine, faces a looming demographic and energy crisis. For decades, the German economic model relied on cheap Russian energy to fuel its industrial base. But after the Ukraine invasion, the shift to more expensive alternatives, like liquid natural gas from the US, Qatar, and Norway, has raised production costs, undermining its competitiveness in global markets. At the same time, projections indicate Germany will lose over 2 million workers by 2035.
Germany is changing so much. I mean, even with the EV shift, right? The car EV shift. Yeah, Germany is definitely a different player in Europe than it used to be.
Due to an aging population and low birth rates. And
Wow.
Russia is grappling with severe problems of its own.
We will limit Russia's ability to do business in dollars, euros, pounds, and yen.
International sanctions have dealt a crushing blow to its economy. Russia's global trade and finance capabilities have been severely restricted. Compounding these issues, Russia faces its own demographic crisis with high
mortality and low births. That's really interesting. I wouldn't expect this in Russia, to be completely honest, but wow.
mortality rates and low births. In 1990, Poland's economic landscape was bleak, a wasteland of inefficient state-owned enterprises and empty store shelves. The country's economy had been ravaged by decades of communist mismanagement. From these ashes, Poland embarked on a radical reinvention that would transform it into Europe's economic dark horse. The transformation began with shock therapy.
All right, this is awesome. He set us up, he gave us the backstory, but now he's going to tell us why and how Poland is booming, and I honestly can't wait to get into this.
That rapidly transitioned Poland from a centrally planned economy to a free market system. Price controls were removed, subsidies were slashed, and budgets were balanced. Initially, this caused skyrocketing unemployment and collapsed state-owned enterprises.
Okay.
But it paved the way for a new economic order. And as Poland navigated this economic metamorphosis, it faced the 2008 financial crisis. Remarkably, it emerged as the only major European economy to avoid recession during this period.
What? Poland avoided the 2008 recession? That's pretty insane because, I mean, in the US, it was really, really, really rough. So, wow, they're the only European nation to also avoid that. That's pretty remarkable.
While the EU contracted by 4.5%, Poland's GDP grew by 4.2% in 2008 and 2.8% in 2009.
What?
This resilience stemmed from the Polish financial system being in the perfect posture. Its banks had minimal involvement in the subprime mortgage market and complex financial instruments like mortgage-backed securities. Polish banking regulators imposed high capital adequacy ratios and conservative lending practices. Additionally, it had not adopted the euro yet. And so, the Polish zloty's flexible exchange rate allowed it to depreciate during the crisis.
That's actually so interesting. So the zloty gave it more flexibility. Okay.
boosting export competitiveness and cushioning the economy against external shocks.
Wow.
Simultaneously, their recent accession into the European Union opened up new funding sources. EU grants were channeled into infrastructure development and modernization products, transforming the country's landscape. The construction and real estate sectors boomed, creating jobs and stimulating economic activity. Poland's workforce became increasingly attractive to international companies. The country emerged as a key destination for global service centers, with major
Wait, real quick. I've heard that Poland is like a tech hub across the world. There's a lot of tech jobs there, right? Like a lot of tech jobs.
corporations setting up operations to leverage the skilled labor force at competitive costs. And for 3 consecutive decades, foreign direct investment surged. Poland's GDP per capita skyrocketed from $1,700 in 1990 to over $15,000 by 2020, representing an average annual growth rate of nearly 4%.
That's amazing.
This meteoric rise made Poland one of Europe's most successful post-communist economies, and it's now a key manufacturing hub with a central location within the Union. For most of its history, Poland has been squished between German and Russian empires. But now, at the crossroads of Eastern and Western Europe, Poland has become a crucial transit hub, facilitating the movement of goods and sitting at the center of Europe's automotive and electronics supply chains. The Polish ports of Gdansk and Gdynia have experienced remarkable expansion, with container throughput at Gdansk more than doubling since 2010. This has been supported by investment.
All right, real quick plug. I actually visited Gdansk and Gdynia in November of 2025, last year. I visited those 2 cities. So that's actually really cool to hear that they're at the center of a lot of this port transportation and this huge Polish economic boom.
Investments through China's Belt and Road Initiative. Now that causes some red flags within NATO, but Chinese ownership is more limited than in other ports like Piraeus in Greece. Polish leaders are cautious about getting into bed with the CCP because they're allies with Poland's #1 security threat, Russia. While other European powers struggle with energy dependency, Poland is executing an energy independence strategy that strengthens its geopolitical position and economic resilience.
Wait, Poland is energy independent. That's actually really interesting. Is there a big oil supply there?
The cornerstone of Poland's energy revolution is the Baltic Pipe project, a strategic gas pipeline connecting Poland directly to Norwegian gas fields. Completed in 2022, this pipeline delivers 10 billion cubic meters of gas annually, dramatically reducing Poland's dependence on Russian supplies. As much of Europe scrambles for alternatives to Russian energy, Poland's LNG infrastructure further reinforces this energy security. The LNG terminal at Świnoujście, operational since 2016, has been steadily expanding its capacity from an initial 5 billion cubic meters to 8.3 billion cubic meters in 2024. A second terminal at Gdansk is in development, potentially adding another 4 to 8 billion cubic meters of import capacity.
That's amazing. Poland's just exploding. Like, the economy's booming. Anyways, I love Poland if you can't tell. This is pretty remarkable to hear.
These facilities allow Poland to import gas from global suppliers, including the United States and Qatar, diversifying its energy sources beyond Europe. Gas imports from Russia, which once accounted for over 60% of Poland's supply, are scheduled to be completely eliminated by 2026. Oil dependency is following a similar trajectory, with Polish refiner PKN Orlen already reducing Russian oil imports from 90% in 2013 to approximately 30% today, with plans
That's impressive. They have reduced dependence on Russian oil that much. And that's pretty remarkable because it says that Russia is their biggest threat. So the fact they've reduced it that much is really, really saying something.
Complete elimination. Poland is also aggressively pursuing nuclear power development. The government has approved plans for 6 nuclear reactors, with the first unit scheduled to come online by 2033. This nuclear push positions Poland to not only achieve energy independence, but potentially become a net energy exporter to neighboring countries still struggling with Russian dependence.
So literally Poland is about to become the king of Europe is what it sounds like. Once they get these nuclear reactors and all this energy, a lot of Europe will be dependent on Poland. Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
This strategy stands in stark contrast to Germany's approach, which has left Europe's largest economy vulnerable to energy shocks and Russian leverage. While
That's
Germany
terrible.
scrambles to replace Russian gas with coal, Poland's foresight has positioned it as a model of energy security in the region. This independence gives Poland more control over its foreign policy and military strategy. Poland's defense spending is set to surpass 4% of GDP.
What? Hold on a second. 4% of GDP? Poland's getting ready for that next war. They will be prepared.
The 2% requirement for NATO. It aims to forge a shield for Eastern Europe and reshape the balance of power in the region. By 2035, Poland plans to double its military personnel to over 300,000, creating a modern, well-equipped force capable of defending its interests and contributing to regional security. The Polish military's procurement drive includes orders for 1,000 K2 tanks and 288 Chunmoo artillery rocket launchers from South Korea, along with 96 Apache helicopters, 250 upgraded Abrams tanks, and 48 Patriot air defense missile batteries from the
That is so cool. Poland is upgrading their military to protect their country. I feel like Poland is one of the most patriotic countries out there, honestly.
United States. And this massive military expansion is attracting foreign investment, particularly from South Korea. The partnership includes technology transfers, which will enable Poland to manufacture K2 tanks domestically, fostering the growth of its own defense industry. Polish General Wisła Kukula has repeatedly emphasized the need for the country to prepare its forces for a full-scale conflict. Poland's military expansion primarily aims at bolstering defenses along its eastern border with Belarus and Kaliningrad, and this gives Poland a larger seat at the table within NATO and develops its domestic defense industry. As it becomes both a consumer and producer of military technology, it will open up new export markets in the future. So, Poland is now Europe's most overlooked military and economic power. With a
All right, that's an insane statement. Most overlooked economic and military power. Poland is truly booming. I've heard recently too that a lot of Polish citizens are moving back to Poland after relocating to other countries for work, and now they're moving back. So Poland is literally booming so much. I think their GDP just passed $1 trillion, if I'm not mistaken. There's a huge piece of land, a lot of people in the country, I think over 40 million people. They've really been able to fight back from the migration problems from what I know. Poland's up next. It's official.
With a larger army than Britain, France, or Germany, and living standards that when you adjust for purchasing power are on par with Japan's.
Really? Living standards are equal to Japan. That's a pretty interesting statement.
Additional European powers are struggling with their own crises, which means the power structure of the continent is about to shift. For decades, Germany dominated economically. Britain provided financial leadership, and Russia loomed as the Eastern giant. But that world is crumbling, and Poland is stepping into the void. Countries like the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and the Baltics increasingly look to Warsaw, not Berlin, for leadership on regional security and economic coordination. As the United States seeks reliable partners for containing Russian influence, Poland's military buildup and strategic position make it an indispensable ally. China, too, recognizes Poland's economic significance, carefully balancing investment opportunities against NATO sensitivities. But perhaps most significantly, Poland proves that the European project does not require surrendering national sovereignty over to Brussels. By maintaining control over its energy policy, defense spending, and economic strategy, Poland demonstrates that EU membership and national strength can coexist.
I love that. I think what he's getting at there is keeping the zloty, keeping their military spending at their own speed, not bowing down to the EU. Maybe there's some sort of agreement I don't know about. When they joined the EU, they made these agreements. Yeah, this is fascinating.
The 2030s will be the decade where a country that was wiped off the map 80 years ago becomes the continent's most dynamic force.
Insane video. He delivered that pretty interestingly with so many facts. I just learned so much about Poland. Also, it's interesting how he paired it against the crumbling other countries such as Germany in what he said. It's also showing that Poland is becoming more self-dependent on energy, which is one of the biggest problems in all of Europe. So the collaboration with South Korea is actually really interesting to me. I don't know anything about Poland's entanglement with South Korea, but apparently I need to look into it because they're getting a lot of military defense from there. That was insane video. I can't wait to discover more about Poland, to learn more about Europe. If you want to do that with me, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the very next video. Cheers.